Welcome to PrepAquatics.com. I'm Skylar King. As always, you can email me, Skylar@PrepAquatics.com. You can follow me on Twitter @SkylarPrep. Finally going to start moving in this next week into some legitimate invitationals that I'm excited about. I'll be at West Chicago this weekend. I get another look at Rosary as we go east for the first time really in person. And obviously they have two bona fide stars that are going to be really heard from come the end of the year. And for Rosary, and I'll see them again at their home invite next week as well, as I traditionally do. It's about seeing what they look like as a whole unit. I saw them at LT this past week, and they were missing a lot of their top girls. And so hopefully as these weeks go on, we'll see less and less of that, not just with them, but with teams in general. You tend to see that a lot during the girls' season, where college visits or ACT take SAT type things take girls away from these Saturday invitationals. But I was still impressed with what Rosary had that was there. They didn't win the meet, but it was still, you could see that they were the best state team there, even without their top girls. And a lot of that is Ariana Nikula. She's been very impressive. Back in the day, I used to USA Time Search kids when I didn't really know that much about them, and they were popping a good time. Now with Swim Cloud, it's so much easier. And I mean, Nikula was someone that when I went back and was looking at what she was doing in high school last year, she was around like a 102 butterflyer, and then after the season, she just pops off in a huge way, and now she's very likely a top 8 butterflyer, which means Rosary would have 2, and so that's the type of thing that wins you state championships, when kids make that type of leap. Because Rosary's thing the last couple of years with this group is they haven't had the depth, not just depth for like invites and dual meets, but the depth of having that 4th girl, that 5th girl, that 6th girl, that's going to allow you to put a 3rd relay together. They can score at the state meet, and in all likelihood this year score top 8 at the state meet. And they look like a much more complete team this year than they have these last couple when they've had Rents and Naraki and O'Connor. And she's a big reason why. And again, Olivia Moore was not there either. I tweeted out that they won the medley without 3/4 of their state relay. But that just shows you that they do have a different level of depth this year. One of the meets I was interested to see that I knew I wasn't going to be able to attend was LT Hinsdale on Friday night. And this is a meet that LT ended up winning. This is one of those interesting matchups where Hinsdale's got the star power, but LT's got the depth. And this meet swung when Hinsdale jumped the Ray medley. You don't see too many meets with teams this good swung on a jumped relay very often, just because you don't see teams jump relays that frequently. And it was a 12-point swing where Hinsdale was going to get 1-3, which if you don't know, the way relays are scored in high school is 8-4-2, and you're not allowed to 1-2-3 it. So the best you can do is 1-2. In most cases, if it's a competitive meet, you're probably going to do at best 1-3, because the other team's A relay is going to get second. And so Hinsdale more than likely would have gone 1-3. Because of the way the results are displayed, we didn't get to see what the A relay did. It just is listed as a DQ. But based on the time we saw them go at their home invite, we know that they're definitely capable of breaking 150, and LT did not. And so instead, LT goes 1-3. And it was actually close to going 1-2, and that's the difference. That was a 12-point swing, and LT wins the meet. And the other big thing that happened is LT 1-2-3 the breaststroke, which probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that relay jump. It'd have been so much closer. Sienna Allegra gets fourth for Hinsdale in the breaststroke. She's only 4/10, as well as Nicole Jonikis was only about 4/10 out of third. If either one of those girls goes 4/10 faster, Hinsdale wins the meet outright if they don't have the medley jump. And so, I don't care a ton about who wins dual meets, but I do think it's fun for the kids and for the coaches to try to find ways to win conference. And the way at least this conference has been set up historically is you get the dual meet record and then you get the conference championship. And so if LT's undefeated in dual meets and Hinsdale has one loss, but Hinsdale wins the conference meet and LT gets second, then they split conference. And so you're going to go into a conference meet where there's a lot on the line, especially for Hinsdale, potentially at the end of the year, depending on how the rest of the season plays out. And so you rarely get that much drama in a dual meet. Usually you have one team that's significantly better in most cases, and even if they jump a relay, it really doesn't matter. But I think I'll be really interested to see what LT looks like at state. Last year they were much more of a state meet team, and you could kind of see it coming. Their relays were strong performers all year, and but this year it's just a lot of depth. And so it'll be interesting to see how well they can perform at championship meet season. Who can step up and to be kind of that top four. They could potentially have girls go 3 relays and see how well they can do. I'll be shocked if they don't score. Probably all 3 relays when you consider the expanded to 16 relays. As we discussed in the preseason preview, there is not a lot of depth in this state on the girls' side right now. We'll see if that bounces back in the near future, but it was really hard to come up with teams that were going to score. And, to me, LT looks like locks based on the way that they're swimming early in the season to score 3 relays. They should be a fun, competitive team all year long when it comes to invitationals and dual meets and the like, just because their second and third girl can beat a lot of other teams' second and third girl. Even if they're number 1, you can't always beat the other team's number 1. There were some other invitationals. At the meet I was at, Katie Kane that was there with Fremd. She was doing her normal stuff. 53 low in the 100. Nothing too crazy. But she's going to be there at the end. It's just good to see these little checkpoints. See that they look like they're in form. The Oswego girls were swimming well at the invitational they were at, and like I said, I'm looking forward to see them in person. A day later, to the point about the medley relay, at the Glenbrook North sprint meet, Hinsdale Central was 148.6 in the medley. I do want to highlight, because Burlington Bocas didn't swim the butterfly, Elizabeth Lehman did. And Elizabeth Lehman's another one of these kind of unsung kids that I think is really going to have a big senior year. And she has kind of been on the periphery for the last couple of years, and now she's really stepped up. It's obviously her time because there was a big class of seniors that was ahead of her, and she's contributing the butterfly and freestyle, and to go along with these imports, Karina Miller, freshman backstroker, Camille Zinnis, transfer from Hinsdale South, and then Lilia Barber, coach's daughter, one of 2 that could be heard from come state meet time. And this Hinsdale team's something not as flashy as last year's was. And time will tell if they can make a run at a trophy. They're probably 1 girl short, but it's going to be fun to see if they can pull it off, because I do think they can have a lot of high finishes. not the least of which is Burlington Bocus. Coming off a leg injury, she was only limping noticeably at the Kendall Pickering Invitational, but she's still going to be amongst, if not the favorite, to win the 500 free when state meet time comes around. 5'11" at this meet, and again, there's not a ton of, and this was a lot of meets this weekend. Relay meet at Wabanzi, relay meet where I went at LT, kind of a alternate type setup at this Glenbrook North meet, and Lilia Barber 53.3 wins the 100 free. Touches out Isabella Wilhelm from Deerfield, who is a legit state meet scorer. And when you're talking about freshmen, to me, I think it's just good to make sure you get the races in against the top kids. And get that experience, and so the nerves aren't there as much by the time you get to sectionals. I think it's almost impossible for the nerves not to be there when you get to state, because even though we're in that new venue and it's never going to be as loud or as intense as it was at an Evanston, it's still probably going to be the biggest crowd that these kids have ever seen at a swim meet that they've competed in. Erica Ilke 107.6 in the breaststroke for Deerfield. Again, with the expanded scoring, hard to not see her getting some points come year end. Amelia Willis from Mundelein 59.1 wins the backstroke. Same kind of thing. If you're under a minute of the backstroke in season, I think you're going to be in contention to score. And then no surprise, Annika Parkey 55.7. In the fly. Early in her career, and by that I really mean her sophomore year, because her freshman year we didn't have a state meet, and she went out and set 2 state records, and I said, I wonder if she's going to move around and try to set multiple records, and I think it's become clear that she's just going to show up and swim the 200 free in the fly. Because of the teammates that she has, it doesn't really make sense for her to swim the 100 free. I guess she could potentially swim the IM, but there's certainly a chance she would lose the IM, because the IM, especially at the top, is really tough. Isabel Bew is definitely someone who's got the potential to break 2 minutes, and so it's definitely set up for her where we're going to see her swim the 200 free in the fly. She's going to win them both. And and she's probably going to win Senior Swimmer of the Year. And then she'll ride off into the sunset. And at least we'll have gotten kind of a full career out of one of those 2 stars, because obviously she's kind of gone on to bigger things on an international stage. We got Leah Hayes for just that one state meet, which is unfortunate for those of us that follow high school swimming. Hinsdale Central 38.3. In the 200 relay, Libertyville 141. There wasn't depth here really. Deerfield did not put their top girls in the 200 relay, and in these meets it's tough sometimes to put together the perfect lineup, and that's kind of the extent of the high school events. Wilhelm 25.1 won the 50, but again, not a lot of the top girls swam the 50 at this meet, because you had 50 of every stroke, you had 25 of every stroke, and then a 300 relay, which for those of you that haven't been there before, there was 300 relays of stroke at the Lions event, and that was 3 girls going 100 yards each of that stroke: breaststroke, butterfly, backstroke. This 300 free relay is 12 girls going to 25, which is, it's like 8 unders on steroids, because you got 12 of them. And the only thing LT has that's like that is, if you haven't been there, they have a 100 free relay that is whoever can get closest to a minute flat without going over, and they turn the clock off. And so, it's kind of fun and quirky early in the season. I'm kind of an old fuddy-duddy at this point, because I've been doing this for over a decade, and I just kind of want to see people swim the normal lineup so that I can figure out what they look like for sectionals at state. But you can see how much fun the girls were having with it telling their teammates to slow down or go faster, which I do always get a kick out of. So we should have a lot more to talk about next weekend when we start getting some bigger invites with some of these top teams, and even going into this weekend, not everyone is still in full go. I mean, New Trier doesn't even have a meet. Hinsdale Central and Naperville North are swimming a dual meet, and so it's a very unusual thing when you compare it to boys. The boys season is maybe week 1, week 2. You have a dual meet on a Saturday, but then you're rolling invitationals the rest of the way, and so it takes a while for girls season to get started. Once October hits, you're basically invitational every weekend. Maybe towards the end of the year, you have a tri-meet or a dual meet on a Saturday, but it's definitely a slow burn early on between the type of meets that we have and the kids missing. So again, West Chicago this weekend, hoping to see Rosary and Oswego and everyone else for that matter at full strength with college visits and otherwise. And we'll be back next week to recap it all here at PrepAquatics.com.